All right. Jag tror vi är live.
Are we live? Let's see, 6 people here.
Hey
I
everyone,
think it's
let us know if you can hear us.
you guys. Hi. Okay, maybe he will flip over a bunch of stuff. How you guys doing? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
It's evening
I
here
guess
in
like
Europe. Let us know in the chat where you guys are tuning in from. It's always cool to see kind of the global spread of people.
yeah.
Perfect.
Currently, I'm in Norway. Actually, Arn is also in Norway. I'm
Hmm.
at the farm that we have here. Arn is 3.5 hours away, 4 hours
Something like that.
in Trondheim, and little Falco here is a little bit a little bit intense now, but. Yeah, nice to see you guys. We're gonna kick off like in a couple minutes. We can chat a little bit here, get everyone coming on board
Hmm. And there's
from
also a
India.
little Q&A feature in here as well if you guys want to add some questions that you guys want us to address towards the end of the call. If there's something that's popping up regards anything that we're talking about, you can put it into the Q&A feature, and then we have also a overview of all the questions that's being asked, and we can address them later so they don't get lost just in the chat as well. That's cool to try out if you guys want. I cannot hear or see you, Alan. This is a chat room only for everyone except me and Wally. I think.
Yeah, it's a live stream, a live event. We're just gonna talk about a few things today, a couple tips and tricks about creativity, and talk a little bit about the platform switch, a little bit about what we've been doing the past few years. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun little event, the first one on this new platform.
Absolutely. No, we cannot hear you, Alan. I think it's chat only. But I can see you raising the hand.
Let's see, can I see the chat somehow at the same time? Uh,
Yeah, Wally is tuning in from his phone right now.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Pretty much, I tried to log in on my MacBook, but the webcam is actually gone on that one, so I have to do it on my phone.
Hmm.
Nej, inte detta.
Be careful with coffee cups around your computers, people.
Yeah, I accidentally spilled coffee. Don't do that, especially when it's your
Hmm.
main, work gig as you're traveling. I use it for 3D and for music creation and art and video editing and everything. So yeah, Hako, wait, sit. Okay. All right, let's see if I can join
Then
here.
ask if it's frozen. For me, it's very much not that liquid
Yeah,
or
it's
moving.
working for me.
Um, Let us
Your
know if
dog
it's
helps you compose too. That's great. Yeah, this is little Falco. He's just sitting next to.
yeah, look at him.
He's waiting for something to happen.
Oh, hey, I'm from Thailand here too. That's where we were when we first made and built the foundation for Evenant and the first website
Yeah,
and everything in Koh
yeah, we
Lanta.
were in Koh Lanta. Our first articles and courses, and yeah, so much was happening there. That was 8 years ago.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think I
time
can.
flies.
I can join. I can't really join. I think right now. I'm just gonna stay here. I can still see the chat and stuff. So
Cool. Yeah, and you can address anything, you know, on your camera, and of course I can jump in and answer anything that's
yeah,
required for you.
yeah, we got from New Hampshire, USA, Germany. Got a few from Germany, Georgia, USA. Let's see. Now my phone is not actually playing along.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah,
the beauty of technology.
yeah, the app actually got hung right now. Um,
Can still see you though, and
can you?
hear you
Okay,
clearly. Yeah.
let's see. Let me try to get back in.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a sec.
Hey Alan, how you doing? It's good to see you here. also think there's probably a little bit of a delay. I don't think we've only set it so the host can talk in this one. There is a setting that is a more of a Zoom chat room available as well that we will definitely try out. There's a lot of new cool features for live events and communication like this that we're gonna dive into a bit more in the future. But for this one, we just wanted to do a very simple little hangout and talking about some tips and tricks and lessons and a little bit of what we've been up to in the future plans. So we just kept it simple for this one. But definitely down to try the other chat room where everyone can actually speak on a later occasion as well. Walid, you're muted, by the way.
Sorry about that. How about now?
There you go. Yeah, now it's working fine.
Okay. Yeah, I was just asking, is there any issues with anyone that can't hear us or see us?
Dana says that she's on the phone and no sound and no live feed. It's frozen.
Okay.
And Alan said it was frozen on the web, which is interesting.
Okay.
Is it cool for everyone else? Everything working? Audio, video?
Does it work? Yeah.
This connection quality is excellent.
Download the app. Okay. All right. Well, we can get started and people can just jump in. Great. So yeah, you can ask questions while we're talking. By the way, there's like a Q&A thing here that you can just ask. But we're just going to start a little bit of talking about what we've been doing. You know, me and Arn, the past couple of years. So we lived in Los Angeles. You know, me and Arn have been going back and forth between LA and Sweden and Norway, of course. And we were actively teaching still, you know, music and art, but just not as much. We've been focusing on our own professions as artists and composers. We've been learning different skills, you know, building industry connections. Arn did a bunch of composing and producing gigs with various artists, also film studios and trailer music and all kinds of stuff with people. And I actually took my commercial pilot license, which was pretty fun for airplanes, while also working on art gigs and different things like that. So yeah, we did a bunch of stuff. Basically, like we did some fundraising and we've tried different things for Evenant, but it wasn't really what we wanted. We like to make awesome courses and resources for creatives. We're not really about scaling really big and doing all that. So yeah, we're just back to the roots, right? We what we used to do. So now I'm back in Scandinavia, more or less full time. I'm here with my dog Falco. He's currently sleeping at my feet. And yeah, we have a lot in store for Evenant. You know, for teaching art, teaching music, having a lot of different events and stuff like that. So we're finally back. Secondly, why did we switch platforms? So when we set out to create Evenant, you know, 8 years ago, there wasn't really an option for a platform with everything that we wanted when it came to community and courses and groups and stuff like that. So we decided to develop our own platform. Doing that took a lot of time, effort, and money. So platform development almost, you know, it overtook teaching and, you know, everything that we want to do with communities. And we're just two guys, you know, Arn and me, and also Emma, who's helping out with a bunch of stuff. And we, you know, we enjoy teaching art and music and creating it, inspiring other people to create. And also we make art and music professionally ourselves. So then Circle came along, and we were very excited to switch over. We still have, you know, the developmental abilities. We can change things. We can take your ideas, your feature requests, and implement them. We have the API connections. We have a really cool Evenant app coming up, and yeah, we have all kinds of freedom here. So we're really happy with the switch. By the way, while you're here, you can also share your platform suggestions and feedback in the general feedback space. Finally, just
It's all
after
the way to the left, just so people know. Sorry, all the way to the left of the spaces on the left toolbar, if you haven't seen it.
Exactly, yeah, you have all your spaces there. So yeah, that's just a quick background. I just want to give a special thanks as well to Marco Tizza, Short Visser, Louis Berge, and Alexander Guichet, who've helped, you know, develop our custom platforms throughout the years, and they've just been developer rock stars in helping us trying out different things with Evant. So thank you guys. Yeah. So anyway, Arn, maybe you can talk a little bit about the upcoming courses and sort of the future of Evenant.
Yeah. So on the music side, there's a lot of new things in the making now. Both things that I've been wanting to make for a very long time, things that's been requested by you and other students over the past few years, and the results of not only like the past couple of years being in LA, working very actively in the industry, trying my hand at a lot of different sides of the industry, and learning a lot more about the actual professional side, the business side, the networking side, and the legal side of things, and of course workflow habits and so on, but also kind of the accumulation conclusions I've realized after the past almost decade of doing this full time as well. So there's a few courses that is in the pipeline. The Piano for Composers course that we discussed earlier is something that we're gonna be finishing and releasing in not very long. It's definitely high priority. But I also finished a course recently that's gonna come out next month called Cinematic Music Adventures, which is a course I'm really excited about. You've probably seen a couple of emails about it. It's a very practical, action-focused course inspired by adventure games and quests like Legend of Zelda, with a lot of really practical ways and methods and simplified ways to look at both the arranging, composing, and production side of things to go from nothing to a finished track very efficiently over and over again, and building creative momentum, building habits, and avoiding getting in our own way in the creative process with overthinking or getting stuck when we're turning ideas into full tracks and so on. But I'm going to talk more about that course later. From there, I've also got a lot of requests on specific genres and styles, how to adventure music versus heroic versus more emotional drama, like Thomas Newman, to horror and so on. So there's going to be more content around specific styles building on top of this course, as well as more individual elements such as percussion and drums, which is something a lot of people struggle with when it comes to both the rhythmic side, the layering, how to make things blend seamlessly, and so on. So there's a lot of different elements like that that's in the pipeline, but also please let us know in that course requests space on the lower left side of all the spaces, all your requests for future content, whether it's a quick little workshop, guest workshops, or more in-depth courses. And we'll definitely take that into consideration now that we're back from LA and we're focusing on really putting everything down into courses and knowledge that we learned over the past years and over the course of our careers, essentially. So I don't want to take too much time talking about all of these, the details of these courses. I'm going to talk about more of that later, but I'm really excited about what we have in the store here. A lot of things that I've been wanting to make for a long time, and I know based on the feedback and the requests I've been getting from a lot of you that you're going to absolutely love it. So Walid, maybe you can talk a little bit about the design side of things too.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to add to that, hearing you talk about
Mm-hmm.
all those things. We have a lot of things, a lot of courses coming up in both music and art. And as an ultimate student, maybe you've already seen that, like the Evenant Ultimate. You get all the previous courses, and also great discounts for the future ones that we have in store. Also exclusive bonuses and more stuff like that. So if you haven't checked out Evenant Ultimate, definitely do that. It's a very good deal. Anyway, for design, yeah, I've had a lot of thought, and I've had a lot of great feedback coming in of what to do for people. What you guys have been struggling with, and also from my YouTube channel. And one of the things I'm going to do is called concept art adventures. So it's similar to Arn's cinematic music adventures, where we're going to be focusing on the essentials of painting and of creating art, with bite-sized videos, very practical, hands-on, making art fun, right? Like not having to sit through many, many hours of videos and long-winded explanations. It's just getting straight into it. And it's also going to be quest-based. So like a main quest would be finish a full painting, and then side quests with like acquire the painting skill of painting trees, painting poses for characters and portraits, and maybe rocks and skies and stuff like that. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun, very like game kind of style, and it's also gonna be group based. So I'm gonna tell you more when it's actually gonna come. Right now I'm working on it, and yeah, you can go through it in a group. The door's going to be open for a while, then we go through it as a cohort, kind of like with what we did way back with cinematic design and 3D for artists. That worked very well. People were seeing great results. um, but yeah, you can also take it at your own pace, if you don't have time. So anyway, that's the Constar Adventure series that's going to come up. I also want to do more courses on speed painting and sketching. I believe those things are some of the most important skills you can have as an artist. to be able to sketch your ideas and generate ideas, quickly. It's also like the foundation of any artwork. That's very important. I want to do that. Also, more Blender stuff, 3D workflows. I've been using Blender so much in my work as a professional artist, both in animations for different clients, making artworks and animations, even architectural visualization, product design, commercial work, all kinds of stuff. Blender is such a great software. I think artists should learn how to use it because it will be very beneficial for you. Another thing is actually traditional sketching and traditional painting. I think that's pretty interesting, like what you see behind me here as a traditional oil painting that I made. I think that's really, really fun. And I think being able to draw with graphite and draw with or paint with oils and stuff like that, different mediums, is still the same fundamentals, right? But yeah, I think that would be cool to make a course on that and show you guys how I approach it and how you can as well. So let me know if you're interested in that. Yeah, I'd love to do that. Other than that, there's other things as well that we have. We have a huge list, lots of cool stuff that we want to do, but something that permeates everything we do with Evenant, with all our courses, all our tutorials, free content, is the holistic approach. Not just how to make art and how to make music, but general lifestyle, health, and productivity content. We want to include more courses and content on things that make us more productive, healthier, happier. Content on how to learn, languages, fixing things, crafting things, working out, traveling, astrophotography. I mean, there's so many things that me and Arn do, and we can teach a lot more than simply art and music, and we want to implement more of that into Evenant. So yeah, that's pretty much what we have in store. Lots of stuff coming up. We're definitely ahead on time, Arn, with what we have written down in our bullet points.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, is there anything else you want to add on all the courses and all the content that we have coming up? Maybe the workshops.
Yeah, no, I think you have touched on a lot of it, and I definitely agree with the last point on the kind of looking things very holistically. That's something we've always been wanting to do, and I think now with this new platform, it's going to be easier to focus on a lot of the different things around it. Because in my experience, at least, and to a lot of my friends and colleagues in the industry, a good majority of the things that have helped us progress the most and give us the best results are not necessarily just the music related things or the things related to our crafts. It's the way that we approach creativity in general, the way that we learn about productivity, time management, and just yeah, all the things that create the creative and the creative lifestyle of being a creator, managing your own time, your projects, even down to how to manage the files on your computer. And as well, of course, also the legal and financial side of being a freelancer, of being a creator, understanding the implications of different royalty streams or different type of contracts. I recently had experience now where that came in very handy when it came to a major publishing deal from a major label, and it's just so many things that can both benefit you but also hurt you greatly as a creator that is not related to your ability to make music or art in at all. So that's definitely something we're going to focus on more, both in terms of paid workshops and free little calls on these live streams and articles and posts, and just yeah, we're just going to find as many ways as we can to try to help out from everything that we've learned both inside and outside of the creative fields on this platform.
Yeah,
And yeah, we're definitely excited to do more workshops as well, as Wally mentioned.
yeah, definitely. I also want to add, like, a lot of people, they ask us, like, how do you do what you do when it comes to, like, I mean, they understand if you're really good a composer or you're a really good artist, you spend a lot of time doing that. But what about the other stuff you do? Once you adopt a certain mentality and a certain way of learning
Mm.
things, you can take this and apply it on everything. That's what I did for the pilot stuff, aircrafts and flying a plane, or sailing, or astrophotography. I was just out shooting some stars, with very simple equipment. You can take those things, or that mentality that you learn from how we approach things, me and Arn, and apply that on anything you do. Any new skill you want to learn, anything you want to try, new job, or new hobby or interest, and that's invaluable, actually. I don't think there's anything you can tell me, Arn, that like, hey, have you tried this, or do you think that you can try that and be good at it? And I will say no, like absolutely not. I
Mm-hmm.
know how to approach it using first principles, using the way that we learn. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a big thing in learning anything. And us teaching a bit more of that, more holistic approach to things, not just what everyone else does. With there's so much on YouTube, there's so much everywhere. Even our courses, you can take those, but it ends kind of there because it's only about music and art. We do, of course, include mindsets and philosophies, but it would be cool to apply it more like that with other things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so maybe Arn, you can continue with some. I mean, there's some questions here. I don't dare to press the chat button because it lagged last time. But we're gonna answer questions more later. I'll just go through all of them. Anyway, Arn, maybe you can talk a little bit about creative habits. How to learn better. I think this is a good segue into that.
Yeah, yeah, that's been one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about and kind of practicing a lot lately and learning a lot about and talking to a lot of my friends and professional composers about recently, which is kind of the universal principles behind both learning, not just creative things, but in general as well. It talks about, and just want to share some tips for how we can build creative habits and learn better. And some of these things for some of you might be a little bit basic, but I think a lot of the basic, simple things are the most important things to repeat and implement, and often the easiest things to forget as well. And one of the most important things is avoiding the trap of just information like consuming overload, just endlessly watching YouTube channels and videos and reading tips and trying to get new plugins and just trying to acquire as much information and things as possible at the expense of actually just getting down to the basics and doing it and practicing. It's the same thing as, say, you want to get good at a sport or you want to get stronger, and you spend 80% of your time just on forums trying to figure out the best workout programs and the best diets to follow and the exact perfect macros between the carbs and the fats and the proteins and exactly how you're going to do that and that and that exercise. At a certain point, those like really small differences might make a difference once you have already exhausted 95% of your potential. But for most people, like the most important thing is to just take any action consistently over time, even if it's just 70% perfect or 60% perfect, 80% perfect, because trying to just ensure that every act or action we take is absolutely the best path to take or the best program or the best like path of action is probably going to hold us back more than actually just taking any imperfect action and sticking with that over time. So that is just a mindset I'm trying to adopt more in everything. Just not worrying about at any given time whether this workout program is the perfect thing, or if this diet is the perfect thing, or if this track I'm working on right now is like the right thing to do right now, or if focusing on this and that is absolutely perfect, but just focusing on staying consistent with whatever practice you put in and not really worrying too much about if this is the perfect thing to be doing right now. And that then over time, the path kind of creates itself, and you will see progress just through consistency, not through perfection. I think because perfection, trying to look for perfection, is going to make us stop and second guess and kind of kill the momentum that we would get if we just uh, kept going and kept building momentum, even with an imperfect routine. So building a routine and focusing on practice and focusing on the basics and repetition is one of the most important things I think in any practice, whether it's health or fitness or creativity or any skill. And that comes to what Walid always talks about in art, and something that I have been speaking and writing a lot of emails about recently because I think it's so important, which is progress over perfection and finished, not perfect, because perfection is such a elusive term or concept in anything, especially when it comes to a finished piece, because nothing ever becomes perfect. Perfection is kind of this thing that's in front of us, but we're never quite there. And it's easy to think, as a professional, it's easy to think that, oh, if I just put in this extra X amount of time or effort into it, I'm finally going to get there. And you might be even overconfident in your ability to get it to a place where you're fully happy with it, to think it's perfect. But once you get to that point, it's going to be just the perfection is going to be further ahead of you because you're always evolving and learning new things. And if you're a beginner and just starting out, you might feel like perfection is so far ahead of you because you lack the skills, or you objectively don't think your music holds up to what you maybe aspire to create. But the only way there is just putting in the work and finishing music consistently. I kind of like the tap water analogy that Ed Sheeran talks about. He gave it to a speech to a lot of music students once, where he talks about how creativity and your skills is almost like turning on an old tap. Like in the beginning, it's going to be very murky water, and maybe a little bit of clear water comes sometimes. But the more you let the faucet run, the more clear water is going to come, and eventually you're going to get to the clear water. But you have to put in that work and consistency through the murky water period, which applies to your skills or the outcome of your tracks. You can't really expect anything to be perfect. And even when you're actually starting to be pretty happy with your skills, it's still gonna be things that you will look back at and feel like you could have improved or details. I've even seen posts from Blakes, which I mean is one of the best, if not the best, mock-up artist on the planet. His mock-ups are absolutely insane. And I saw him just write, he's never really been fully happy with any mock-up he's ever done. Mm. So it applies to anyone. I just shared an email a few days ago as well with Tolkien writing about Lord of the Rings, that he finds both major and minor flaws with the books now as well. But I like the way you put it, that he's under no obligation to either review or rewrite the book, apart from one thing. The book is too short, so it's just going to keep writing. And I think that's just an important, relieving thing to be aware of, is that it's the creator's curse, as a lot of people call it. You're never really going to be fully maybe happy with things. Maybe you are, but we can't really expect to always feel like something is perfect. And if that holds us back from finishing things and putting things out there and actually completing stuff, it's not going to serve us. So focus on progress over perfection, and keep a track, a folder of previous work, so you can see yourself how much you've progressed over the past week, over the past month, over the past year or 5 years. Because sometimes it's easy to listen to a really great piece of work and then you really feel down about your skills or the way your music or art sounds. But at those times, I find it's really helpful to just look at how far you've actually come, and look at the progression you've seen, the progress, and then realize how much further you're going to get if you keep up with that consistency, and how that probably is going to be exponential over time. I don't know if you have any things to add to that, well, in terms of art or music.
No, I think that was great. I mean, some more things I want to add, like with other people, like Einstein, even, but that comes into later. We have another thing to talk about, like, with insecurity, perfectionism, stuff like that. But yeah, I think that sums it up pretty good. Yeah, maybe I can talk a little bit about how to get over plateaus, because like then you're finishing stuff, but like maybe you're at the plateau, and you don't know what to do next, or you're stuck somewhere. I mean, the first thing, I mean, there's many things you can do, but the absolute very biggest thing and the best thing you can do, I think, is to do studies. Studies and referencing, I believe, are the absolute best way to improve and to get over plateaus. I can't tell you how much that's, improved my work over the years. Repainting stuff I love, what various masters and pros have done over the years and before me. And that goes for both art and music. So orchestral mock-ups, mixing, different harmony studies, seeing what things do. Like, for example, I can show you right now. Like yesterday, I listened to a track by, I think they're called Tame Impala. Yeah, Tame Impala, and it's called Past Life. It's a pretty simple. Yeah, they're great. It's a pretty simple song. The chorus, it starts with a D sharp major seventh chord. So it's like, I'm not sure, is it flipped now? Maybe it's flipped. But anyway.
No, it's good.
So it's sort of like that, like from a past life. Very simple 2-chord progression. But during the later stages of that chorus, they add a ninth into the orchestration, into the choir. So it becomes instead like this. So from a past life, that was super cool, I thought, to add that in the chorus. And what did I do? I listened to the song, I stopped it, and I went to the piano and I referenced it. I tried to study it and what were they doing, right? So that goes for music, and then you can do the same thing for art. Like if we take my painting, I did this way back, or a couple of years back. So when you look at this, it's an oil painting. Let's say you look at it and you enjoy, let's say the atmospheric perspective. You like the depth that this gives you. Look at it and then try to do that yourself. Try to see that aspect of what this is. Do a study of it. Or maybe you like the textures of the mountains. Just take that part then and try to paint it yourself, right? Try to see how have I created that texture. So when you do that, you build your visual library as an artist. And as a musician or a composer, you build your mental musical library that you can draw
Hmm.
from for future creations. So that's a huge one. Just doing studies, referencing things. If you hear something cool or see something cool, like a visual artwork or something, just study it, reference it, hit pause. Go into
Hmm.
Ableton, try to see what sound they use there, or how they did the orchestrations. I did so much of that for example, Lord of the Rings. Howard Shore. I just created mock-ups based on his work, and I learned immense amount of stuff doing that. Learned how he uses his trumpets because you listen in a very specific way to the different instrumentations, to the orchestrations, how the chords change, and that just builds up your library. So I'm not going to talk too much about that, but
Hmm.
that's a big thing.
I have a quick thing
Yeah,
I would love to add just to the whole study thing. When it comes to music as well, to me, what works the best, and what I've heard from a lot of other people that they like to do as well, is to first find something they want to study. And as Wally said, try to focus in on something because you don't want to recreate the whole Lord of the Rings score. It's just not really feasible. You could, it would probably learn a lot. But if you have a day or 30 minutes or an hour, you probably want to focus in on something like the atmospheric perspective, or, for example, just the brass section of a specific cue from Lord of the Rings. Or in my case, I posted this in the music group as well. I did a recreation of one of Blakis's Pacific demos, and I tried to recreate most of the demo, but I focused in on the big back end and focused on getting the strings to sound as close as I humanly could, um, and trying to figure out what he was using. I even asked him like which reverbs and everything he was using, and it's just stupidly simple. He doesn't really almost use any reverb. But that's a whole different discussion for later. But try to focus in on something specific that makes it easier for you to actually recreate that without getting too overwhelmed. And then once you have recreated it as close as you can possibly get, I really like to go to the second stage, which is where we take that result, say those two chords or that ninth chord thing that Wally just showed you, and then apply it to your own musical language. Like create a little idea with that template that you just created from the Blakey's thing, for example, which I also did, or with that new brass arrangement. Just change the chords around a little bit, turn it into your musical language, or create a little quick idea with the chord study that you did with that chord voicing, because the difference between just recreating it and transmuting that into your own creation is that you're really internalizing the principle and turn it into a tool that you merge with your own musical language. And once you have used it once in a work, you've really kind of, that's when you've fully absorbed the lesson in that study, and you have used it once in a piece of work, which is then when I feel it's really actually in your backpack, and you have what I call, you have stolen like an artist, which I think it's the Picasso phrase, right? To me,
Yep.
that means not only being able to copy or mimic something, but turn it into something completely different in your own language. So I just wanted to mention and give that little piece of advice.
Yeah, that's great. It's really important to not overwhelm yourself. Like listen to or like look at that whole painting and go like, how do I do that? Not knowing where to start, stuff like that. Pick small things. And that actually goes to my second
Mm.
point is to do simple stuff. Like you're in a plateau, you don't know what to do, you feel like you're stuck. Simplify it. Just do simple stuff. You like sketch a little bit if you're an artist. You can sketch a couple thumbnails very quickly, and that'll instantly get you out of that I'm stuck, mentality. If you're a musician, create a couple a track sketch. Just play on the piano if you play piano, or load up some VSTs and just play around with some stuff. if you do simple stuff like that, sometimes that takes you out of the whole, stuck mentality and stuck phase, and you can sometimes
Hmm.
find new ideas and new things to build upon that thing. So that's a great thing to do. Just simplify things. Another thing to do is to challenge yourself. I love challenging myself, setting a timer. I have a couple of fun YouTube videos where I set myself a timer of 10 minutes and I have to paint something some subscriber have asked for. Let's say they tell me like a forest scene, like a dark forest scene. Then I have 10 minutes and I know what to do, kind of. And I set the timer, I start painting, and I see what I can do in that time. Oftentimes my mind finds ways through that problem of finish or coming to some sort of painting in 10 minutes. That's pretty short, right? So doing that time limit is very, very cool. I like that. Same thing with composing things. Maybe you have a set time, like an hour, 2 hours, to finish a track or to make a track from the beginning, or just use five instrument tracks, like some percussion, maybe guitar, piano, or strings, whatever you want, and then try to challenge yourself like that. So you have to kind of build those challenges for yourself. For art, you can paint using only two colors, like red or some reddish warm color and some cool color, and then of course the value range. You can create amazing stuff just with that. Um, yeah, so that's that. And then finally, I'd like to say that you can also dive deeper into things like perspective or counterpoint. Like if you find some core pillar that you might think you're not that good on, like let's say perspective or color theory, just pick that thing and dive a little bit deeper into that. Sometimes you find that's the key to unlock the rest of your work, the rest of your creativity, right? Um, yeah, I think that's.
Mm.
I don't know how
For
much
music
more to
too.
say from that because yeah.
I was gonna like one thing that I find really helpful as well if you feel a little stuck, you don't really know exactly where to improve, or you feel there's a lot of small things that could be improved, you don't really know where to begin. Again, don't look for the perfect path. Maybe look what happens if you just spend 2 weeks focusing only on woodwind, textures, arpeggios, and background things, and you study Ravel, a lot of Ancha's compositions, a lot of soundtracks, and you really just focus on creating a lot of really lush background woodwind textures and runs and really multi-layered things in terms of harmony, in terms of counter melodies, and only focus on that for 2 weeks, you're probably gonna learn a lot by just focusing on that, but that you can transfer on into a lot of other things. But you're also probably gonna be coming up with a lot of ideas and demos and compositions that you otherwise wouldn't through doing those studies that maybe will like spark a new sense of inspiration and some new tracks that takes you outside of the comfort zone and the things you've previously done, which can then kind of just unlock that next level of both creativity and inspiration.
Yeah, and with that, that's kind of how we're gonna approach these new adventures courses, concept adventures, cinematic music adventures. It's gonna be like quest based, right? Like so these side quests acquire the painting skill trees or acquire painting skill, metal or something. That's kind of how we approach this because that's how we learn. That's how we want people to study as well. Doing these small quests. When I do things, it's not just with art or music. With anything, I see it as a quest. I feel myself like Link from Legend of Zelda. I'm learning new skills and I'm putting that into my arsenal. Um, and that's kind of how we're approaching these new courses and this new content. It's just very practical, straight on, and fun. It needs to be fun, right?
Mhm.
If it's not fun and if it feels like work, you don't want to do it. So yeah,
Yeah, I just want
that's
to add to that as well is that I feel like that mindset and that adventurous fun mindset and is essential to really embracing the full creativity. Because if you create out of a place of kind of fear of this being good enough or it has to be a certain quality, you're starting to really constrict yourself into what it has to be for you to be happy and not really being open to all kinds of impulses and experiments and things. And when you're playing a video game, there's not really any stakes. You're doing it for the fun of the process. You're not afraid to go up to an enemy much bigger than you. You're not really scared if you fail and have to start over. You're bold and you're having fun with it. And I feel in creativity to really grow the most and learn the most and get to the best results, there has to be a certain amount of that boldness and that sense of curiosity to see what lies on the other end of trying this. It might not work. It might be the most stupid idea I've ever had, but let's try, instead of being scared and feeling like, oh, but what will people think if
Yeah.
I combine this instrument with that? So yeah, that's a lot of the adventurous mindset that's essential for learning, but also really baked into these courses and quests.
Yeah. Great. So that's pretty much like our thoughts on building creative habits, getting better, getting over plateaus, our sort of philosophy around that, and a little bit of what we're going to do in the past. Maybe you can talk a little bit about like dealing with insecurity and
Mm.
perfectionism and stuff like that. Like you just mentioned
Hmm.
that maybe like that big boss, if you're Link or something,
Hmm.
and you don't just like stay behind that boss door, you actually go through it and you try to beat
Hmm.
that boss. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very, very common issue for all creatives. If you see any interviews with big artists, famous artists, people who are really successful, everybody struggles with really a lot of being very self-critical, critical to their own work, never feeling like it's good enough. Even artists like Tom York and Jimi Hendrix couldn't stand listening to their own voice. They were hiding in the corner. I think Jimi Hendrix, when he was recording his vocals, didn't want anyone to hear him. Couldn't bear listening to his own recordings. It's kind of the curse of being a creator. You get really blind to kind of the how the outside actually sees your work, and it's very easy to compare our work to other people. And I think it's important to remind ourselves that this is something that everybody faces. It's not something that you're alone are facing, or that is because you're not good enough, or because your music is not good, or you don't have good ideas. It's kind of a constant for anyone in the creative realm, and it's very fluctuating as well. As I've seen this with so many really incredible artists and producers when you see interviews with them. Some days they feel on top of the world, other days they feel like they should never be in this position. I remember also a dinner we had in LA with one of the best mixing engineers and producers on the planet, who is, I don't know how many Grammys he has, but it's like too many. And he is just a savant when it comes to production. But he just sat there and said, I'm still waiting for the day when someone's going to knock on the door and just say, "Hey, we figured you out. The fun is over. We know you're a fraud." Imposter syndrome is a real thing, and even Blake has talked about that. I saw on a forum as well, that
Even
he's
Einstein.
still, yeah, Einstein as well. You
Mm.
can probably elaborate on that later as well, but it's just such a real thing, and I feel like half of the job of being a creator is learning the skills to get our ideas in here and out, and the other half is actually making sure that we don't get in our own way through perfectionism, or through limiting our own ideas, thinking they're too stupid, or that your ideas are not worthy of being put out there, or worrying about other people are thinking, worrying whether it's good enough. So it's just so important to not get in our own way, and get into that whole mindset, because it's such a normal thing. And one thing that I find really helpful is oh shit, I'm just in the chat. Hope everything is good. Of course you can go. We have a replay of it that you can check later.
Yeah, we're recording
Hope
this, so
everything's
you guys
fine.
can join later. Hope the emergency is fine.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I see some things coming in here as well. The imposter syndrome, not being good enough. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
The reason I'm talking about this so much right now, and also in the recent emails and in future things I'm doing and in the course I'm doing right now, is because in surveys we've done and messages we've gotten from people and speaking to people, I think like 30-40% of replies were around this, not above mixing, above orchestration, above all these things. It is finishing music, struggling with getting in our own way, or not feeling like our things are good enough, second guessing the ideas halfway, so we just discard the whole project, playing
yeah,
a few chords and then thinking, this is not a masterpiece, I'm not even going to continue with it. It's really, really easy, but it's also really common, because at least I felt that this was something that was a little bit something my problem. Before I started speaking to people about it and hearing other perspectives, and realized, wait, this is something everybody's facing, and there's also ways to um, get by or bypass it actually having an effect on us. Because the difference between someone who's really prolific as a creator and someone who is not whether you're encountering these problems or doubts or perfectionism. It's whether you let that hold you back from actually finishing and putting out your work consistently. That is pretty much the only difference, because
Is it?
everybody is facing.
Yeah, I had the same feeling with when I took my pilot license, because that's a pretty big
Hmm.
thing for me. Like I've never been in a plane before like that. And when I was above the sky, after taking my license, my first one, I asked myself like, who let me do this? Like I felt like an imposter pilot. But then I realized no, but I still I've gone through the work of actually making it, making the or getting the license, of learning what I need to do. And once you're in the progress of creating stuff and putting that time into it, that imposter syndrome will always be there. But you can still, like, everyone gets it. You can still get over it by just saying whatever, just continue doing it, and yeah, move on.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a very real thing, and I've seen it from everyone. Everyone I know really faces it at certain times, and even the people that I've looked up to as well. Turns
Yeah.
out they're facing all the same things, and it actually gets worse the more success you actually get a lot of the time,
Yeah.
because you get more reasons to believe that you're an imposter. I've felt like in the beginning when I was starting putting out music, you have like this almost naive, not confidence, but just curiosity. You don't even know. The more you know, the more you can see what's lacking as well in your music. And in the beginning, you know that this is the best that I can do, and you just happily put it out. And then eventually you learn more and more, and it's easier to find things to get hung up in. So that's why
True.
I'm focusing on this now, because it's not the thing where you learn more and then you get more confident in your ability. You could, and it's kind of it can go in waves. But the more you learn, the more you can also find faults in your work, and the more you
Yeah.
can see what's lacking, and the more you can get the imposter syndrome. So it's going to be a big focus. But I'll share a couple of things that I find is very helpful. These are tips I've gotten from other people as well, and from teachings from people like Rick Rubin. It's looking at each time you sit down, each time you do a study, like we just talked about, each time you finish a track or you finish a painting, don't look at that as this is who I am and this is a symbol of everything I can do artistically, because that's kind of a mindset that's going to make us put a lot of pressure on you when you're creating, thinking this is going to be my masterpiece, and this has to impress everyone. This has to show the world how good I am every time. Think of it more as a gym session, because you know that if you want to go from here to here in terms of physical strength or anything like that, you just have to put in a certain amount of repetitions. You have to show up to the gym a certain amount of times and just keep the consistency for a while.
Mhm.
And it's very similar with the music. Every time you sit down and you practice or you create a track, you're going to be one step further to your potential over here. But if you sit there and you're sad that you're not over here already, and you make that stop you from doing all these different steps in between, you're never going to get over here, because the only way to get here to where you want to be is the actual work in between, which is not going to be as great as you probably want it to be. So it's a little bit of a like dichotomy there, but it's
Mhm.
important to just understand that every session matters equally in order to build those building blocks that's going to get you to the place where you want to be. But seeing every session as a win, whether the track turns out great, whether the piece or art turns out not that great, maybe it's the worst thing you've ever created, it's still you showing up one time that's going to take you closer to that future potential
Yeah.
of your creativity. So that's one thing. And then the second is just the mindset of do your very best within a given time frame. Say set a deadline for yourself. That's a big tip as well. And then move on. Whatever the best thing that you can do until a certain point in time. If you have a deadline with a gig or something, then that deadline is set for you. But understand that you can't do any better than the best that you could do. And if that is not perfect, then that's fine. But you have to let go. And then whatever lessons you learn from that, you can put it into your next piece, and then so it goes. So you can, instead of getting stuck on the same piece forever, trying to improve the put the lessons from that into future work, and then into the next one, then into the next one. And over time, if you keep a track of how far you've come, you'll suddenly see that holy, you'll actually improve so much more than you thought over the past 6 months or 12 months
Mhm.
or 18 months and so on. So
Yeah.
that's a mindset I really really
That's great.
recommend. Mm.
Yeah. If you, yeah, let's maybe wrap up that stuff. There's a lot to talk about.
Hmm.
We've talked about a bunch of stuff today. Maybe we can go through some questions and see what the people have been saying.
Yeah, feel free to shoot any questions. I could talk about this for hours, and I'll probably do a lot more content, maybe discussions, or and there's also a lot of this stuff in my upcoming course as well. This is kind of the a lot of the foundation, at least the mindset side of it, and how to practically blast through all of these obstacles. But we can answer some questions here,
So I say
whether
here,
it's about this or
yeah, what about the use integration of AI tools into music and art creations and workflows? That's a huge one. That's a very big one. It's
anything.
very something a lot of people talk about today. It's very, you know, it's it's hard to say, what's right and what's wrong. I personally believe that AI, when it comes to like, generating music and generating art from it, I feel that it's infringing on copyright, right? Like it's my paintings, it's your paintings that's being scraped. So without any proper, attribution to who is making, where are they drawing the images from, and some sort of commercial, compensation, then I feel there's a long way to go for AI. I still think there's a
Mm,
huge, job opportunities out there for people. I don't think AI should stop you from making good art. Do it while you, like 20 years ago, AI didn't exist, right? You still did art because you loved it, because it was fun. Still, it's the same thing. It hasn't changed. It's just like the thing that we hear about everywhere, that AI is ruining art. It's not. You still do it for fun. You still express your creativity. Same thing with music. So you can also use it in your professional career. Why not? Or if you want to, I mean, like, it's there's no right or wrong, in my opinion. Everyone has their own opinions about that. But yeah, maybe you have something to talk
yeah.
about there as well.
Yeah, like I've seen some interesting use cases even last week because I've been working with a major label where I'm both recording, I'm writing, producing, recording strings, guitars, and so on. And I was asked to do an arrangement and production and guitars on a demo pitch to a really big artist, and the producer, who's really skilled um, and successful guy, but doesn't play guitar. He can play the keys. He had kind of an idea of what he wanted me to do, but of course he can't do that, and he can't explain it with words. So what he did is that I don't know what he used, but he used AI to kind of try to match the energy and get an idea for the guitars that he wanted me to create. And he used that to more or less just explain himself better so that I, the real person, could actually get closer to what he had in his mind, and would make my job easier and save me time as the producer trying to figure out what he was looking for. So in that side of things, it's a pretty interesting tool because there's no AI used in the final product. It's also not taking away
Yeah.
any work from anyone, a real human. It's even actually making the human work easier. So I don't have any plans on. I don't really use AI in my workflow, so I can't really speak much on it. But I've definitely now got my eyes open to a few more ways that it could be used to actually help the creative process a bit more without getting
Yeah.
in the way of humans, without hurting creativity. But it's not something that is a focus right now.
Yeah, there's lots to talk about with AI, but we can skip that. I mean, it's a
Mm.
tool if you want it to be. It's a big political thing if you want it to be. We're focusing on making good art, making good music, and even making money with your art. I still get many jobs as an artist, even if AI exists, because AI can't do what I do. So anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just reading through some of these other ones. I see one more questions. There's actually a question space or section in this thing where you can
Mm-hmm.
ask a question and we can mark it as either as featured spotlight so you guys can see the question, and also like if it's answered or not. But just going through that one, let's see. Sergio Falaguera says workshop on song remake for remixing trailers. Yeah, we'll have more trailer music and trailer stuff happening with other authors. It's not just me and Arn; it's other
Mm-hmm.
people as well. It's really easy to do on this platform, and yeah, we have lots of that coming up as well.
Yeah, maybe a
Um,
workshop, but it's definitely an interesting
yeah,
topic though.
yeah. Also, let me see. I saw. I think Alan said something funny here. Let's see. Oh, beautiful dog. Thank you, guys. Um, Yeah, Alan Schwegler requests a Falco section with daily picks. He's sleeping right now. Maybe that's a good pick. Anyway,
Mm.
we just woke up. Yeah, so let's see. Any more questions here? Walid, are you gonna make commercial flight courses? So actually, that's an interesting thing because I'm getting my when I go back to USA sometime, I'm gonna get my certified flight instructor license. So anyone, if you guys are interested in learning how to fly, you can do that with me later. So just let me know. Let's see here. Gotta
I'll
drop
be
off.
doing
We're
that
just
soon.
Yeah, Arn is gonna be my student. I think my first student actually. So it's gonna be fun. Let's
Hmm.
see. Any more questions, guys? Do we get replay of the session? Yep, it's gonna be a replay.
Hmm.
I suffer from the overwhelming imposter syndrome. Radu Paul Malanek says, not being good enough to be employed by a studio and comparing my work to others. Yeah, comparisons. I mean, we all do that. We all compare ourselves to each other, to other people, but it's progress, right? You just make art, you make music, you progress. And I got my first gig when I wasn't that good. It was just some
Hmm.
author who wanted to hire me because they liked one painting I did. I look at it today and I cringe, but I still got it. I made $50 on that thing. I was super excited about it. You can also do it, you know.
Mm.
Let's see. I've been keeping my consistency good so far, but also constantly fighting self doubt from time. Yeah, it's all self doubt, man. So much of that.
Hmm.
um, we have to get over that. It's not real. It's just in our head.
Yeah,
um,
it's tough.
yeah, it's
Powerful.
tough for sure. All right, I just went through all of them. Anything anyone else has to ask? Anything you want to add on? This was our first event on Circle. It worked out great. I think people were hearing us and seeing us. We have lots more coming. Like we said, concept art adventures is coming up for artists, and cinematic music adventures for composers, and lots more things coming. So yeah.
Mm.
Anything you want to add?
No, I'm excited for the stuff that we have ahead. We're both now in Scandinavia, and it's nice to have some time to dive into, kind of go back to the roots of what we've been doing before, and a lot of cool things in store. Um, a lot of new lessons learned as well. So I'm yeah, excited about the new platform and doing more live events like this, workshops with guests, and yeah, we're really excited to hear more of your suggestions, what you guys would like to see on this platform, whether it's in a quick live call like this with someone else or with us, or specific topics or entire courses. Again, you can find the course requests in the left side of all the spaces in the all the way to the bottom. And there's a question here, how to get into the creative mindset when staring at a white canvas. Yeah, you can just say something really quick on that. The most important thing is to just get started and not overthink, because nothing is really going to sound great in the beginning. Nothing is going to feel like it's going to be a masterpiece in the beginning. And the most important thing is not to be able to, or not to rely on inspiration. Because as I spoke to Ansha the other day as well, this inspiration is a bit of a myth. Like, yeah, sure, it's great to have it, but you can't rely on that to create good ideas. And once you learn how to develop things, you can just take any simple motif of three notes or any simple concept or idea and actually just craft it into something. And then once you start getting going and you just create without really overthinking, you will get ideas and inspiration will follow the action, not the other way around. So the most important thing is to just get started and don't really expect it to be any good. But this is a really big problem, I know, for a lot of people. And in Cinematic Music Adventures, I have 6 different methods of how you can start new ideas. 6 different like avatars that I've created that
Yeah,
is very very productive.
yeah, and it's the same thing with art. The thing about staring at a white canvas is very common with artists. We don't know how to start. There's the same thing with cinematic music adventures as with concept art adventures. We're going to look at many ways of getting started: sketching, making thumbnails, whether it's creating characters or people, creatures, landscapes, which is my favorite. My main thing to paint. Um, yeah, just making something. Getting into that generation mode. Great. So
Mm-hmm.
that's about the event here. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone who's been
Yeah.
around, and for all the questions. And yeah, lots more coming. Very exciting.
Yeah, thanks for showing up, everyone, and have a great Saturday wherever you are.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Chat soon. Bye.